Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nile TV International. Our today's special edition covering minute by minute and updating the electoral process going on in 7 governorates and in 19 consequences and constituencies. After the NEA had nullified the results of the individual elections in 19 constituencies in the first phase. So we are now witnessing the rerun or the runoff of the first phase now, as a total of 455 candidates are contesting 43 seats across 1,775 polling stations in the 19 districts and in 7 governorates, as I mentioned before. And to shed more light about this, we are delighted to be joined here in this studio with our prominent guest, Dr. Ibrahim Teheewi, Human Rights Association consultant. Dr. Ibrahim, great pleasure having you with us.
Hello, I'm grateful to meet you. Okay, first of all, I'd like to appreciate the great efforts exerted, in fact, by the President himself, and in fact, from the beginning, he decided the way we are going, and he said a speech and a word I can't forget from the beginning. He said, try to join, okay, because you see on the streets, the last elections, in fact, gave us many important messages, to especially to the youth, the new generation. And from here, this honorable program, I'd like to send my message firstly to the youth, firstly, because this is a democratic process.
Yes.
Okay, so are we on the right track or not?
Yeah.
What do you want?
I believe it's essential for the youth and young people, of course, to participate and to cast their ballots.
The first message from these elections, I'd like to say and send to the Minister of Education himself. Why? Because you know that sometimes, you know, in the past, we used to practice elections in primary stage, in prep stage, secondary stage. Why? Because here we wanted to teach our students, the new generation, who will be responsible for the future after that, of what? Of real democratic process, of how to be responsible. That's right, how to be responsible, how to be free to express his point of view, but putting in his mind, firstly, that if you are free, you are responsible. Freedom is responsibility. This is the first message I'd like to plant in the minds of the students who are watching me, and for teachers also. So the link or the relation between the educational sector and the country itself is very important, because I see, as a certified trainer also from the British Council, that I trained many teachers, I trained many leaders in leadership training. I found that we are not interested in schools, especially of this democratic process.
And important to make like simulations for the students, I mean, at school or universities for practicing democracy.
That's right, for all stages.
For all stages.
Okay. After that, we shifted to the university students. It's very important, and in due time, to practice democratic process as it should be. Not for a show, but we have to respect each other point of view, to teach our students in primary stage, prep stage, secondary stage, higher education or higher education, how to express your point of view, how to say your point of view, how to think out books. This was required also from another message of the elections, if we wanted to focus on the many important messages, because here we don't make elections for fun, no, because I said my point of view in 2013, for example, talking about the political money, for example, which many people talking, frankly speaking, talking about, we have to put dots on the right word. We have to speak in right way, not to spread rumors. This is, I suffer as a citizen.
The head as well, the head of the National Election Authority had also mentioned yesterday, of course, and he asserted that anyone had notes, whatever irregularities or breaches, he can visualize and just go to the right channel and not through the social media or or just spreading rumors, etc., which affects it in a negative way.
Yeah, because this is a force war. If one generation force war is very important and dangerous at the same time, because sometimes some channels, you know, some people here and there, up and down and everywhere, want to say what Egypt doesn't know how to practice democratic process as it should be. No, we would like to send another message that here in Egypt we have honorable judges, and in fact the election national authority, in fact, is very interested also in sending a great message and important headline that we practice the democratic process as it should be. But take care of rumors, and I'd like to respect that, okay, and the decisions which was established by saying that any channel or any social site, okay, who spread any rumors, we are going to ask him, we are going to put dots on it. And so once upon a time, if I have enough time, that one of the members of the parliament, he made rumors. For example, I know that he's a governor, for example. I watched him and I noticed what he was doing, and for sending rumors, he made what? He cut his suit, his jacket, pretending that I am unjustified, and so don't believe that.
Yeah, of course, and as you mentioned, we are depending on long history and great legacy of legislative parliamentary life, as it based on more than or longer than 140 years, and we will talk about it in details, but just allow us to go for a short break, and then we start our news, and then to resume our interview with Dr. Ibrahim. So stay tuned. Well, ladies and gentlemen, still at Nile TV International, where today's special coverage for the rerun or the runoff of the first phase of the House of Representatives elections 2025, as the NEA had nullified results of the individual elections in 19 constituencies, and now the rerun or the runoff is taking place in 7 governorates and in 19 constituencies. But the overall of the turnover or the outcomes of the participation of the voters had remained unaffected, despite of the breaches or the irregularities happened within the first phase. Well, to continue and to resume our interview with our dear guest here with us in the studio, Dr. Ibrahim Teheewi, Human Rights Association consultant. Dr. Ibrahim, once again, I just welcome to you here, and great pleasure having you once again.
I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Well, we've been talking about the legacy of Egypt and the long history based on longer than 140 years of democracy and parliamentary life.
Yeah.
So it's not new for the Egyptians to practice democracy, and such irregularities or breaches, they are occurring or happening anywhere in the world. This is what also the outcome of it, or the lesson out of it. Well, as Human Rights Association consultant, do you yourself note any irregularities happened or occurred afterwards within the first or within the actual or the current phase now?
Yeah, in fact, frankly speaking, I'd like to focus on this important issue and important point of view. As a viewer, okay, I travel here and travel there, up and down the river there, okay. I traveled to many governorates, I saw many governorates, I talked with many people, okay. I documented, in fact, some speeches, some declarations of the common citizens saying what about the elections. Firstly, one of them say that I'm really happy because for the first time, youth, I'm talking about youth, okay, for the first time I am voting, okay, he is very happy. And you notice that, and I think all the citizens in front of me, all the audience, notice that for the first time, it's characterized by the parliament elections, characterized by youth, okay.
Yes.
Most of the voters were from youth, because they are really interested.
No, and the new candidates as well of the House of Representatives. Now we are seeing new faces,
of course, yes,
as candidates, not the old faces that we used to see in all the runouts and in all the elections and etc.
And this is in fact a new channel, okay, a new wave, if we want to express that. And most of them, like I don't like to mention some names, but I met some of them in the parliament itself and talked with them. Some famous characters who are youth and who are representing or used to represent and talk about the affairs of people and common people, okay, or poor people, or the public, okay, the common citizens. In fact, I am really happy because for the first time I noticed myself, okay, against the rumors which mentions on social media, because again, many times most of the sites, they need only to attract the audience by fake news sometimes.
Yeah.
But on the fields, I found myself and documented, took photos of what? Of lines of youth, lines of old people, women or men in fact. Here I am not praising, I'm not exaggerating if I said that some of the men, old men, waited for more than 1 hour. I observed that. Most of the women also, although I asked some of them, they said, I have my family, I have my work, but I left to come because it's our responsibility as women. We have no differentiation here between women and men in this. And in the last elections also, we noticed that the huge amount of women, okay, who went to vote. That's right, and it's an important view and important phenomenon. Why? Because the president himself, when he said that I'm interested in the human rights of women, the women rights, so I think this message from the president himself changed the psychological state of women. Okay, so I asked one of the old women, she's like my mom, for example, or my mother. She told me I can't forget the president's speech when he said that women rights. So if we want to talk about this speech and how it was a great invading message to all women in Egypt, in Upper Egypt or North Egypt. So this was a secret or another key from the president himself, President Abdel Fattah Sisi, to all women whom we saw.
Yeah, of course, we are actually witnessing great support out of the political leadership, in particular to the women. As we always say that the women are really living in a golden era under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah Sisi. He's showing a great respect and appreciation for the women itself. So this is like a great and a holy thing, and he really appreciates and understands.
Of course,
this. Well, talking about the role and the significant role of the House of Representatives, in particular in such a critical and crucial time in which we are witnessing geostrategical challenges, not only regionally but internationally.
Yeah.
Talking about enacting of laws, talking about discussing the rights of the constitutions for the citizens, etc. What are supposed to be the most ever significant files at the top of the agenda of the new representatives?
In fact, most of the people neglected that. And here I'd like to send my message when I talked with many members of the parliament from the National Democratic Party before 25th of January revolution up till now. Okay, I'd like to say that when during my speech with most of the members of the parliament on many channels, on some conferences, they said that most of the citizens don't know what's happening in the parliament itself. We discussed many important files. But here I'd like to send also another message.
They're supposed to defend the rights of the citizens.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Okay, it is the right of all citizens. Okay, of course, yes. And when the member of the parliament represents his governorate, okay, I'd like to say that some citizens want the member of the parliament, the old culture, to provide a job for my son, to provide a job for my daughter, okay? And this is the old culture. Here,
personal interests.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Okay.
And for whatever, even small issues.
Yes, we have to change this point of view. It's due time to change.
Big issues.
Yeah, to change this point of view, because please give the chance or the opportunity for your parliament member to express you as it should be. He isn't here in the parliament to say that to sign. To take a sign or signature from the Minister of Education, the Minister of Health, or the Minister of Agriculture because of so and so and so. No, leave him please. And here I'd like to say, talking with some members of the parliament, they talking, for example, about the file of education and how to educational reform. We found many points of view, okay. Many members of the parliament talked about how to make reform, and the Minister of Education took some point of view in the seminars or in the conferences. They don't establish any law, any new law before referring to the parliament. So it's very important in the field of health. Okay, many laws were set okay, after talking with the member of the parliament. So also in the field of agriculture, the president himself, you know, that is interested in reclaiming many thousands and many millions of thousands of lands. So all these affairs discussed many times in the parliament. The most important file, which I discussed myself with one of the members of the parliament, was the problem of old rent and new system of renting, housing, and flat renting, and something like that.
It's one of the most debatable files, and
of course,
issues supposed to be really
talking and focusing on the old system and the new law. What happened here? Most of the people up to now are still talking about that, because so the president himself interfered to solve this problem, saying that don't be frightened, don't worry, because I'm going to build many housing estates, housing areas, and so this will be translated to flats. So don't worry about this. And here I'd like to send a message. Not most of the residents know, okay, those people who are renting a flat, for example, they want only the benefits, the old flat. And the president himself wants something new, which is what? New cities. He wants you to shift from this old area to a new area. So what is who is right? The president point of view or the citizen point of view?
Anyway, it's a debatable issue. It is such a critical and crucial file, really related to so many, we can say, relative interests and relative situations, and so etc. It's real one of the most critical and crucial files. Supposed to be on the top of the agenda of the House of Representatives in the next round. So. As a consultant in the Human Rights Association, and Egypt is supposed to let the elections to be monitored and followed up by the many NGOs and many international organizations, etc. But only to be monitored and follow up, not to be supervised. Egypt is here sending clear message that Egypt is a state of democracy.
And there's nothing to hide.
What's your take on this?
There is nothing. This is a great message, very important question, a very important point of view, because Egypt here many years, many times, and the president himself, all the officials send a message to the whole world: come to monitor, okay? Come to observe.
We don't have
anything to hide. That's right. And everything, okay, we watch it. I found myself some journalists from some specific channels, okay, I don't want to mention some names, but they are native speakers, okay, some correspondents were observing and monitoring and visualizing directly what's happening, okay. And here also another message: why do you only focus on some bad activities of some citizens, and why don't you visualize the whole the whole wedding ceremony? If I want to express my point of view, it was like a wedding ceremony. Why don't you visualize? Because I'd like to say my point of view: take care of these channels or these social media sites, which they want only to focus on the negative aspects, not on the positive, okay. And this is not true, activity. If you wanted to transfer what's happening on the land of Egypt, come, you are most welcome, but please, okay, I beg you, try to focus on all positives. We have this and that, pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages, okay, as what's happening in your country. If you focus on your country, you will find also here in America or in Europe or in any area, you will find what it's sometimes activities of some people. It doesn't reflect or has no relation with the regime or with the government or the member of parliament itself. That's right.
Yeah.
We have to differentiate. Some citizens sometimes on the street pay money, for example. Who saw them? Who asked him to do something like that? No one.
So you mean the evidence?
Yes, that's right.
To get the evidence,
yeah.
as the president
and
the head of the NEA had mentioned.
Yeah, so for the first time, I'd like here to appreciate the efforts of the president himself when he interfered.
Yep.
So the National Elections Authority, okay, also documented what the president said and what happened of the appeals of 19 sites or sectors or
yep.
that's right. And here this reflects what
and they acted accordingly.
Reflects honesty is the best policy. That's
yep.
right. We have nothing to hide.
Yes. As you mentioned, Dr. Ibrahim, please allow us to watch this report and then to resume our interview.
Tonight, Egypt stands on the threshold of a new parliamentary chapter. The 2025 House of Representatives elections, now advancing into reruns and final counts, represent far more than ballots and districts. They mark a reaffirmation of the people's voice in shaping the future of the nation. For decades, the Egyptian parliament has served as a mirror of national will, a stage where voices from every part of society, from the Nile Delta to Upper Egypt, from desert oases to crowded urban neighborhoods, converged to shape laws, to debate national priorities, and to uphold the rights of citizens. Through times of change and challenge, this institution has carried forward the enduring promise of representation that Egypt's destiny belongs to its people. Over the years, many representatives have emerged from humble beginnings to stand for the aspirations of their communities, giving voice to farmers, workers, teachers, youth, women, professionals, each contributing in their own way to the path of national advancement. Their debates in Parliament, their visits to villages and towns, their interactions with citizens all have woven a tapestry of civic engagement rooted in Egypt's rich social fabric. Today's renewed elections, including the rerun of unused constituencies and the finalization of a list-based seats, are part of that same continuing tradition, a moment to renew trust, to inject fresh blood, and to reaffirm that representation remains open to all. As Egyptians at home and abroad cast their ballots, the stakes reach far beyond individual districts. They reflect hope in stability, progress, and unity. Once the new House of Representatives is sworn in, it will face challenges and opportunities to legislate wisely, to oversee implementation, to address social needs, and to work toward development that benefits every Egyptian, from the crowded streets of Greater Cairo to the farthest rural outposts. In doing so, it will build on the legacy of those who came before and open the door for a new generation to shape Egypt's future. Tonight, as ballot boxes are sealed and votes counted, Egyptians do not simply mark names on paper. They affirm their commitment to participation, to citizenship, and to the enduring project of building a modern, strong, and inclusive Egypt. Egypt's parliamentary legacy continues, renewed, resilient, and resolute.
back, ladies and gentlemen. Still ahead on Nile TV International, our special coverage for the runoff or the rerun of the first phase elections of the 2025 House of Representatives elections. And after the NEA had nullified the results of the first phase for some individual elections in 19 constituencies, we're resuming our interview with our dear guest here in the studio, Dr. Ibrahim Teheewi, Human Rights Association consultant. Dr. Ibrahim, once again, I'm just welcoming you and thank you for your time once again.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
Asking about the constituencies or the, when we say the constants and constraints of the foreign policy of Egypt and the diplomacy of Egypt, how is the House of Representatives supposed to support the state for its foreign policy and diplomacy to achieve more success?
Yeah, here I met one of the officials, one of the also who is in America, United States of America, for example, and he was voting, and I talked with him, okay, on Messenger, that's right, and he told me for the first time as Egyptian living in America, I was surprised that I found many huge amount of people, okay, from our citizens who live in the United States, for example. That's right. This is, I consider that, I told him, I see, can you send me some videos, please? He actually sent me some videos because I like in the Human Rights Association, we don't believe anything orally. Yep. Okay, we have to document everything. That's right. So he sent me actually some videos to indicate his point of view, and we discussed this point of view, which is what? Which is to what extent the people or the citizens in Europe, in America, in abroad, I mean, okay, are interested in the elections, and why. He said his point of view, and he told me or surprised me that they need, as Egyptians living in America, they need, by the way of thinking out box, to develop this country. They are side by side with the president himself, and they met here in Egypt many ministers. He told me that, and we are eager to improve our country. We are eager to develop our country. We have a different kind of agenda and plans, strategic plans. Okay, we wanted to or hope. Okay, because when we travel abroad, you know, from your point of, or you have a new vision. Okay, because you can see the whole country from abroad, so you can focus on the positive, like what I say, SWOT analysis, yeah, the strengths or weakness, that's right, a point of view in Egypt. Yeah. So we wanted to focus on the strengths to develop it and focus on the weaknesses to improve it. Here I send the message of this youth who was living in America, that's right, to the president himself and the prime minister, Dr. Mustafa Abduli, because Mr. President, there are many youth, Egyptian youth, traveling abroad in Europe and America, and they have new visions. Okay, I'd like to open different channels with them to encourage them to come to visit their country, or to make a protocol, or to make a conference encouraging these kind of youth who have the ability, who have the funds. And here I'm talking about the funds, because we have many support, okay, different kind of funds in the sector of agriculture, in the sector of education, sector of health, because the government or the country itself alone is not going to do everything, because all the time I say the president or the prime minister or the government doesn't have the magic wand to change everything totally at a sudden. So I think this is a point of view from this youth who is living in America to the president and the prime minister. Please, it's a due time to listen to our youth, our Egyptian youth, okay, to come again to their country, to encourage them, because if they found the suitable atmosphere in investment, I think they are going, and because they are capable of changing, they are capable, they have the strong will to achieve something. They want to and they need to do something. And here I'd like to invest the atmosphere of elections, okay, because we have here political activities. We encourage these youth to come and return back to as ambassadors and the,
of course, they
okay,
are all the expats
That's
supposed
right.
to be
Yeah.
our ambassadors
To invest
abroad,
them,
of
to
course,
invest them,
enhancing
yeah.
the image of our
That's
country,
right.
of course,
That's
all of
right.
us, and even when we get to travel abroad or to fly abroad. Yes,
Yes.
Dr. Ibrahim Al-Teheewi, Human Rights Association consultants, many thanks for your inputs and for your analysis
Thank
and
you.
for your time, of course.
Thank you. I'm really grateful.
First of
Thank
all,
you. Many thanks.
thank you.